I'll start off this solution by confessing that I don't have the exact answers in the solution on the community, or in the output here, should I say. But I believe that looking at the input data itself, raw, that I am correct in the answers that I've got to. So maybe there was just an error somewhere in the output. So with that dealt with, let's get on with the challenge. So we have a list of sheet names here, and we're only interested in these 3 sheets here. So we just filter to only be looking at those sheets, and we're going to use a batch macro to input those, just because for me that's a more logical way of working. So with our dynamic input, we feed in a sheet at a time, and we get out our nice sort of data set. We have some headings which are a bit annoying. We have some trailing information which is also a bit annoying. So we filter to anything in F2 which isn't null, and that gets rid of those bits. Then we do some dynamic renaming to get our headers up to the header section. We do some transposing to make it a nicer data set to work with, and we rename our year. Now, rather than renaming the value itself, we're going to assign a header field to each of the tables which we are bringing in. So it's either total males or females, and that information is contained in F1. So in the case of total, there isn't anything that says total in the same place. You might have a clever way of doing it, but for me, I just say that if it's going to contain males anywhere in F1, which would obviously work for females as well, luckily, then we're going to append that field on. And obviously for total, it's just going to be null, but then we can just change that with a formula to say if it's null, then it's total. Let's just see what happens when we do it with the males, for example, so that you can see how it brings through. It's got the males, hombres there, and we can just change that appending like that. And then when we get it out of the batch macro in our Alteryx workflow, we can simply do a little bit of cross-tabbing to make sure that there is now a field for males, females, and total population. Cool, so let's go ahead and start answering the questions. So what was the last year in which there were more men than women? So first of all, we don't need the Latin American total, like grand total rows, so we just filter them out to start off with. In the case of this question, we're not looking to forecasted values, we're looking only at historic values, and we need to remember this data set is coming from 2019, so we only include data up to 2019. We create a nice little flag to say if our males is greater than our females, give it a 1, otherwise give it a 0, and filter to just these values where it's true. We group by each country and see the maximum year where there were more males than females. We use another summarize tool to get the maximum year overall and join that back on so that we have just the countries here that have more men than women in the latest year, which is 2015. So that's question 1 answered. Then for question 2, we're looking at the percentage of men in a Latin American country. When's that the lowest out of the whole data set? So we calculate the percentage of men, which is simply the men over the total population. We group by our countries and we find the minimum percentage of men. Actually, I don't know why we're doing this step. We could just find out the minimum percentage of men overall. Yeah, so that summarized tool is actually unnecessary. But anyway, we join it back on and we get our answer to be El Salvador in 2035. So that's question 2 answered as well. And finally, on to question number 3. We're only looking at 20. I haven't thought about how you say that. 2,100. There you go. And we're looking again at more men than women. So if it instead of it being 1 or 0, we're just having a yes or no, and we're just filtering to just have the yeses there. So we've got 7 countries where there will be more men than women in 2,100. And then we're just using a join multiple tool, joining by record position, that's the most important thing there, to get it to join together the way that the output is written up here, even though it has slightly different values. So hopefully that was useful, logical, not too tricky challenge this week. Thanks for watching.